So today in 5.2, we're going to be looking at the division of algebraic fractions coming off lesson 5.1, where we were multiplying algebraic fractions. So this will be very similar. If you felt comfortable in 5.1, you should feel just as comfortable in 5.2. So real quick today. So the big idea is that algebraic fractions are divided in the same way as you divide numerical fractions. So just a reminder, numerical fractions would be with just numbers. Algebraic fractions, you've got a variable in your fraction. So we're going to look at the dividing fractions property. If this is for all fractions, you already know this. A divided by B divided by C divided by D, or if you want to think about it as just the fraction A over B divided by C over D. What do we do to divide fractions? You keep the first one the same. You flip the second one so it becomes D over C, and you change division to multiplication. So you multiply by the reciprocal instead of dividing. Okay, and a complex fraction is when you have a fraction inside of another fraction. And of course, it's division. So A over B divided by C over D. Well, this is the same thing as writing the top divided by the bottom. So it's A over B divided by C over D, which, using the dividing fractions property, we can rearrange as A over B times D over C. So flipping the second one and multiplying. All right, example 1, real quick. 1/2 divided by 3/4. Well, we can rewrite that as 1/2 times 4 over 3. Multiply straight across. We're going to get 4 over 6, which we can simplify down to 2/3. Now, if you saw it early, instead of multiplying and then simplifying, we started talking about how you can simplify early. So you could cancel these, see the 4 and the 2, and make it a 2 over 1. And now when you multiply straight across, you get directly to 2/3. All right, let's try the next one. Now we throw the variable in there. So we have an algebraic fraction divided by a numerical fraction. So instead of dividing, I'm going to make it x over 2 times 4/3. So straight across, I'm going to get 4x over 6. Remember that the coefficient always comes first, so don't write x4, it's 4x. 4/6 now can be simplified, and so this is 2x over 3. And once again, when we were here early, we could have knocked this down to a 2 over 1, gone straight across, and we would have got 2x over 3 to begin with. All right, next one. So what you don't want to start doing is trying to cancel out before you flip. So that's what you can't do. So we need to start flipping before we cancel anything. So first thing we're going to do is rewrite this. Flip the second one. If we were going to multiply straight across, we'd get 14x over 15x. Those x's will simplify out, and my final answer is 14 over 15. Could have simplified early. Where? Just the x's. X's would cancel. You're still going to do 2 times 7 and get 14, and 5 times 3 and get 15. So that's the only thing that could have simplified early there. Okay, and the last one is, again, just kind of showing you the dividing fractions property, but let's run it all the way through. So instead of A over B divided by C over D, we're going to change it to times D over C. And what do we get? So we're going to get A times D over B times C. So that's what it would finish out as. All right, now let's look at some complex fractions. So it's just written differently. So first thing I want you to do is rewrite it as a normal division problem. Okay, so it's 6x over 5 divided by 9x over 10. Now we're going to flip. So 6x over 5 times 10 over 9x. Multiply straight across, you're going to get 60x over 45x. The x's will cancel, and 60 and 45, you could start dividing by 5. 15 is actually the best number, though. If you divide these by 15, you're going to get a 4 and a 3. And again, those x's cancel. And after you flipped, you could have started canceling right here, the 5 and the 10. Okay, divide by 5, you'd get a 2 and a 1. And the 6 and the 9, divide those by 3, and you'd get a 2 and a 3. And the x and the x cancel. So you're going to go 2 times 2 and get 4, and 1 times 3 and get 3. So you can do that as well. Okay, so next one. Rewrite this as the top one divided by the bottom one. So we don't want to divide a fraction. We want to flip it and multiply. So 2 over a. Multiply straight across. 3a times 2. That's 6a. 2 times a. 2a. The a's will cancel. 6 over 2 is 3 over 1. So just 3. Okay, so where could we have canceled early? When we got here to multiplication, so not when it's written as division. You have to flip it first before you start trying to cancel stuff out. The a's cancel, the 2's cancel, so your answer is just 3. All right, rewrite it. 24a over 7b divided by 36b over 14a. Rewrite it as multiplication, flipping. So what I want you to focus on here is some people, when they look at the original division problem, they're going to want to cancel these a's and cancel these b's, but you can't do that. Okay, that little trick of simplifying early only works for multiplication. Okay, so you must flip first, because now that we flipped it, take a look. The a's are on the top, though they don't cancel, and the b's are on the bottom, and they don't cancel either. Okay, so now we need to multiply straight across. Now, this one, we got these big numbers. Let's not multiply now and make more work for ourselves. Okay, you start multiplying, you get some really big numbers that we don't want to simplify. So let's just start knocking stuff down. So when I see 14 and 7, I automatically think 2 and 1. 24 and 36 can be divided by 12. 12 goes into 24 twice. And goes into 36 3 times. Okay, there's nothing else that cancels. Again, the a's are both on top. The b's are both on bottom. You can only cancel when you have one on the top, one on the bottom. So straight across, 2 times 2 is 4. And then there's an a times another a. That's a squared. On the bottom, 1 times 3 is 3, and a b times a b is a b squared. And that's your final answer. So the key here is to notice that you can't cancel these a's and b's up here. You got to flip your fractions first, and then see if you can cancel. Okay, don't try and cancel too early. All right, moving down now. Example number 3. So what happens when we're dividing by something that doesn't look like a fraction? So this one, that's the same as 3x over 1. So if I wanted to rewrite this now as multiplication, it's 3x over 1 times, flip this one, 5 over 2x. If you went straight across at this point, you're going to get 15x on top, 2x on the bottom. X's cancel. Final answer, just leave it as 15 over 2. If you divided, you'd end up with 7.5 or 7.5, and that's fine too. And you could have seen that these x's were going to cancel early here, and then you just do 5 times 3, 1 times 2, and you're still going to get this answer. So for number 2, put that over 1. Anytime you have a whole number, put it over 1, then start flipping things. So we're going to change this to multiplication, 4 over y times 1/2. So dividing by 2 is the same as timesing by 1/2. We've talked about that. If you went straight across, you're going to get 4 over 2y. Always put the coefficient first. Okay, and when we simplify here, 4 over 2 becomes 2 over 1. And we don't have to put the 1 there on the bottom. You can just call this 2 over y. Again, going all the way back to the beginning, you could have seen the 4 and the 2 and made it a 2 and a 1, and then straight across you get 2 and y. All right, last one now. This can look a little tricky because we've got a complex fraction. So it's the top divided by the bottom. And we said the whole number, you can put it over 1. So when I go to rewrite this now for multiplication, it's 6 over 1 times 3 over 2x. Straight across, I get 18 over 2x. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now, don't call it 9x. That would be a big mistake. That x is on the bottom. So the 18 and the 2 are canceling down to 9 and 1, but the 9's still on top and that x is still on the bottom. So it's 9 over x. And let's say you saw the 6 and the 2 early. It would have been a 3 and a 1. And when you multiply it straight across, you'd get 9 over x.